we are going to talk about how to find the prospect's pain, figure out if the prospect has problems, challenges, concerns, or if they have areas where there's room for improvement. The important thing here is finding those that are specific to your product. And this can be a game changer for you, especially with lead generation, because if you are able to find pain, that basically creates a reason to talk more. And if you're able to create reasons to talk more, each of those situations is basically generating a lead. So if we can improve your ability to find pain, we can improve your ability to generate leads. There's probably many reasons why salespeople do not do this. For one reason, a lot of salespeople primarily spend more time talking about the product they sell than talking about the prospect. And one reason why salespeople do this is I believe a lot of salespeople use more of a product focused approach. I think this is just our natural instincts. This is what a lot of salespeople are trained to do. They go through new hire onboarding training and they're taught about the product. And then when they send cold emails or call prospects, they primarily just rely on that knowledge and talk about, hey, this is who I am. This is what we do. Do you need what I sell? Are you interested? Can we schedule a meeting to talk about what we do? And there's many problems with this, but one big problem is the product focused approach. And what most salespeople do is they communicate in a way where it's all about me. And if you're being all about me, then you're not being about the prospect. And if you're not being about the prospect, you are definitely not going to learn and uncover the challenges they're having. But even when I've talked to prospects even when I talk to salespeople who are calling me and they do ask questions, those salespeople are still not very good at finding pain because they don't ask the right questions. And it can be complicated figuring out what questions to ask. It's not easy to find pain. It's not easy to play a detective and figure out all the really specific or targeted questions to ask and to be able to extract really valuable information. Even if you've gone through training, this can be difficult because in my early days when I was selling software, I went through some really great training, and this training talked a lot about finding pain, and this was new to me, and I loved it. I thought, you know what, this is so great. Instead of calling up prospects and talking about my product, I'm going to talk about the pain they're having, and then I'm going to slide in my product as a solution. And when I learned about this in the training class, I couldn't wait to get back to my desk, get on the phones and talk about pain. But when I attempted to do that, I realized it's not as easy as it sounds because it's not easy to get prospects to talk about the pain they're having. You can't just ask them, what are you having challenges with or what's not working well? And really, if you sell multiple products, each product that you sell solves different problems. And if you interact with different types of prospects, those problems could change from one title or department to another. So this is not easy, but what I'm going to show you here is going to make this easy, because what we need to do in order to improve our ability to find pain, what we need to do is we need to improve our ability to talk about pain when we're on the phone and in meetings with prospects. And this is twofold. One is talking about the pain that we can help to solve. And the other half of it is asking good questions so we get the prospect talking about the pain that they're having. And this is not easy to do, but I'm going to show you here today 3 steps that is going to make this completely clear how to do and extremely easy to incorporate into how you're selling. And we're going to basically, the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to create a very concise, targeted list of pain points for your product or service. I'm going to show you how to create a list of questions to ask to find out where the prospect is having challenges. And I'm going to show you how to incorporate those 2 things into your selling, how to incorporate those into your sales pitch or cold call script, when to use both of those things. And by doing those 3 things, you are going to improve your ability to find pain. And these 3 things are basically our agenda for this time here today that we're going to spend together. But before I go through each of those, I want to just show you how this can be a game changer for you. Not only will this improve your ability to generate leads from the prospects you meet with, but what I'm going to show you here can drastically increase the number of prospects you're able to get engaged with, that you're able to talk to. And let me show you an example here to just show you how this can transform your efforts. So I'm going to use a sample product of a salesperson who's selling gym memberships. For this example, let's assume that the salesperson who's selling memberships, let's assume that he's using a product focused approach. So he's going out primarily talking about the product. By the way, I've joined multiple gyms in my life. Every gym membership salesperson has used a product focused approach with me. You go in, they show you a tour of the gym. That's showing the product. Then after the tour, they show you the different membership options, still really product focused sales pitch. No real questions on what are your goals and why are you looking to make a change or why are you here? What brought you in today? Let's just say he goes outside the gym where there's a lot of foot traffic, people walking around, and he's going to go up to people and talk to them, do some cold walking, cold approaches, and he's going to approach 40 people that are walking around. Let's kind of assume how this product focused approach is going to work for him. Okay, let's just assume that of the 40 people he talks to, 1 in 10 of those people are shopping for a gym, meaning they're actively looking to join a gym. They are thinking about joining a gym, or they currently go to a gym and they're not real happy. So 1 in 10 fall into that category. That means when he approaches all of these 40 people, he's going to get a lot of objections like, I'm not interested, no thank you, and just shut down real quickly because 9 in 10 are not shopping for a gym. But 4 of the 40 he's going to get engaged with because they're shopping. They're in buying mode or close to buying mode. And if we have an assumption where this salesperson is able to close 25% of the leads he generates, that means that he's going to close one deal from this effort. Now, not a huge amount of success, but he does get one sale. The problem here might be that he basically had to approach 40 people. So a lot of activity for one deal, but he doesn't come up empty-handed. He does get one customer. So this is how product focused salespeople can be successful. You can just go out and hustle and talk about your product and sell it because eventually you're going to cross paths with prospects that need what you sell. The problem is that you're going to miss a lot of opportunities and you're going to have to spend a lot of effort, time, and create a lot of activity in order to hit that very small target of trying to find people that are in buying mode, people that resonate with your product focused sales pitch. Now, let's change this salesperson and change him to an approach where he's focusing on finding prospects' pain or talking about pain. So, in order to do that, what we need to do is we need to make a list of pain points that for this salesperson that he can help to solve. Just going through this real quickly, here are pain points that you can solve if you join a gym and get healthier, right? Pain points such as don't feel good, you're not healthy, don't have energy, feel tired, stressed, don't have confidence, having challenges with relationships, you're unhealthy, so you're going to the doctor a lot, spending a lot on medical expenses. These are things that a gym membership salesperson probably isn't talking about if all he's talking about is the product. But look at this. If we go back to those 40 people, look at this assumption. The half of these people have those pain points. While they are not in buying mode for a gym membership, they are feeling those pain points. And they might just not realize that the pain I have can be solved by product X, by a gym membership. But when the salesperson approaches the same people with a different sales pitch and is focused more on talking about pain points, he can get engaged with a lot more people because he can communicate in a way where he's able to grab their attention, talk about something they care about, talk about something they're having challenges with. So with that, he's able to generate basically a lot more leads, start a lot more conversations, get engaged with a lot more people. But to be fair, I'm going to decrease the close rate because we're going to get engaged with a lot of prospects that are nowhere close to buying a gym membership, even though we're able to get engaged with them. So I'm going to decrease the close rate by more than half down to 10%. But look at the end results. We're able to go from one close to two new customers. And if we compare these two approaches, you might say, well, that's not that significant. We went from getting one customer to two customers, not that significant. But look at this, we increased our leads generated by 500%. And even though we went from one customer to two customers, that's actually an increase in sales of 100%. So this is a theoretical exercise, but I think those are some fair principles that we're building this around, in that if you talk about pain points, you can grab prospects' attention, get engaged with them. So you're able to get engaged with more people and also talk about the things that they care about more. That's the power of what we're talking about here today. And if you want to incorporate some of that and move in that direction, here are those 3 steps we need to go through. So the first thing is we need to create a list of pain points. And I'm going to show you how to do this for your product. Again, if I go back to that sales training that I went through years ago, that was great. This is the gap that most training programs have. They don't teach you what exactly to say and ask for your product or service. But I'm going to make this crystal clear, because I'm going to actually provide a process you can use to create an optimum set of pain points for your product or service. And by the way, you probably already have a few pain points that you're already talking about or thinking about, or that you solve for your product or service. What I want you to do is I want you to put those existing pain points that you have in your mind to the side, because this process that I'm going to show you is more thorough and in some ways more optimum. So it might help you to think of additional pain points that you're not talking about, or this might help you to create a more focused list of pain points that's more focused on an industry or type of prospect. So put those to the side and follow along with me through this process with your product or service. What we're basically trying to do, and this is not that complicated, at the end of the day, we're trying to create between 3 to 6 challenges, concerns, problems that we can solve with our product or service. And I'm going to go through this with a demonstration product. I'm actually going to use my own product of the Smart Sales System. And not to make this all about me, but there's a reason why I'm using my product, I think it is a good demonstration product. And I'll explain that here in a second. What we want to do is we want to keep in mind the target audience that we're selling to. And for this demonstration, we're going to create pain points for sales managers. Pain points the Smart Sales System can solve for the audience of sales managers. This is why this is a good demonstration product, because I sell the Smart Sales System and Sales Scripter to 2 different audiences. I sell it to sales leadership manager and management, and also probably most of our customers are frontline salespeople. Those audiences have different problems. The product of Sales Scripter and the Smart Sales System is the same product that is sold to those different audiences, and they use it in a similar way, but those audiences have different challenges, different pain points, and you're going to see that here. And the reason why this is a good demonstration product is most likely if you're watching this, you are probably a frontline salesperson, and you're going to see that the pain points I create probably would not resonate with you. I would need to use a different set of pain points when communicating, when trying to sell the Smart Sales System to you. You'll see that here clearly in a second. But we can do a trick here in order to create an optimum set of pain points. And that is to bring back the improvements we created for our product in a previous step. And the reason why this actually makes this incredibly easy, because for each improvement, there's basically typically an opposite problem that we help to solve. And so what we can do is we can look at each improvement and say, well, what's the opposite of that? Or what problem goes away when I'm able to deliver that improvement? Or what problem starts to occur when if the customer isn't using my product or service? What starts to happen if they don't buy from me? What we can do is we can basically use our list of improvements to create an opposite list of problems. And if the improvements that we created are tied to the target audience, in this case, these improvements are tied to sales managers, then the opposite list of problems is going to be an optimized list of problems for sales managers. And just to give you an example of what we're talking about here, a very basic example. Let's say that you sell a pillow. Your pillow it helps people to sleep like a baby at night. That is the value your pillow offers. The features of the pillow might be the material, the shape, super soft, the way it feels. Those are the features of the product. But the main benefit and value proposition of the pillow is it helps people to sleep like a baby, sleep deeper, go to sleep quicker. Those are improvements the pillow delivers. Now, what we want to do is we want to find people that have pain that the pillow can help to solve, the pain that would make them want to buy the pillow. Well, if the pillow helps someone to sleep like a baby, what is the opposite of that? The opposite of that is tossing and turning. The opposite of that is not sleeping well. The opposite of that is that it takes a long time to go to sleep. Those are pain points. And I just made that list of pain points by thinking about the opposite of the improvements I deliver. So we can use that same logic to very easily just go through our improvements one at a time to come up with a list. It's difficult for management to get reps saying the right things. There's often reps on the team that aren't generating enough leads. It takes a long time and effort and ramp up time to get reps trained and performing. There's always too many underperforming reps on the team. And when there's underperforming reps, there's people coming and going, getting fired or leaving, and that's extremely expensive on the organization. Now, let's take a look here. If you're a frontline salesperson, you don't care about any of that, even though you're buying the same product that the managers buy, but you don't care about the time it takes to get reps ramped up and performing. And this is how having a tailored list of pain points, and I mean, you could certainly create a general list of pain points that works for all of the different prospects that you interact with, and maybe that's a good starting place if you're just going through this process for the first time. But if you really want to get to the next level, if you're able to create those laser focused sets of pain points that your different buyers or buyer personas care about, that will improve your ability to communicate about the things they care about, to hit the hot buttons that get their attention, to grab their attention, to build interest, to create FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. This is our list of pain points for the demonstration product of the smart sales system. So this is my list of pain points. Now we can move to the next step, which is to create a list of questions to ask. And what we can do is we can actually build off of what we just did, and we can create a list of pain questions. These are questions that basically probe to see if the prospect has the pain that we help to solve, to probe to see if they have any of the pain points that are on the list of pain points that we just created. And so this is actually not as complicated as it looks, because for each pain point that we just created, there's simply a question that could be asked. So we could go through each of these pain points one at a time and create a question for each. And by the way, if we created an optimized set of pain points for the target audience and for the product, then if we do this one question for each, we are going to create an optimized set of pain questions to ask that are going to be really effective and really efficient at figuring out how the prospect is doing on their side. I'm going to go through these questions real quickly. I like to ask open-ended questions. So try to avoid the "do you have" or "do you," questions where the prospect can answer with yes or no. So I like to ask a lot of, how do you feel about this, or how much of a priority is it for this, or how important is that? But how do you feel about how your reps are doing with what they're saying? How do you feel about the time it takes to get reps ramped up? Do you feel like you're getting the most out of your reps? Here's actually a closed question that could be answered with a yes, no. Sometimes it's okay to ask, a very specific yes, no question. How much of a priority is it to fix underperforming reps? How important is it to find ways to decrease sales staff turnover? There's a very focused list of pain questions. One step that I recommend you take is to create a second set of questions, which I refer to as current state questions. These are questions that probe to see, or they basically help you to learn what the prospect is doing in the area where your product or service fits. The primary function of current state questions are to learn what the prospect is doing, but certainly your current state questions can also help to uncover pain. meaning you might ask, hey, what are you using for this particular system or process? That's not a pain question, but if the prospect says we're not using anything, or we're using a very old legacy system, then that answer tells you there's pain. So these can also help you to find pain, get the conversation centered around pain. Now, the current state questions you need to ask are going to be unique for your product or service. But I've created a list of different types of areas that you'd probably want to ask about. You probably want to ask a current state question to see what the prospect is, to see if they're using something in the area where you sell, to see if they've already bought it, if they're worth a competitor, figure out who they're currently buying from or who their vendor is, ask questions about current systems, current processes. Even if you don't sell something technical, you probably want to learn about how they're doing things, learn about people in the organization, or people just around the buyer. Even if you sell B2C, you might want to learn about the household, existing contracts, any termination dates of any contracts. There's probably sizing details. How many children do you have? How many locations do you have? The current performance of whatever they're doing in the area where you sell something. If you sell something related to the website, how many visitors are you getting per day, per month, per week? How many leads is your website generating? Here's just some current state questions for the Smart Sales System, and just do you provide sales training? Are you using a methodology? Do you guys use any type of sales script? Do you have onboarding? A lot of do you closed yes, no questions. Those are probably okay with current state questions because you're looking for a very specific answer. How many reps do you have? That's a size question. How long does it take for reps to get ramped up and performing? You can see that by going through these steps that I went through, we created a lot of different talking points and questions to ask. These steps here are actually part of a full 7-step sales message brainstorming process. This process basically is designed to create an optimized set of talking points for your product or service. Here's an example of going through all of these steps for my product, the Smart Sales System. And so you can see here, these are a full set of different talking points and questions. This is basically my sales pitch. My sales pitch for selling the Smart Sales System to the target audience of sales managers. Now, if you're looking at this and thinking, well, that looks okay, but I don't have the time to do all that, or I don't know if I can create all of that for my product or service, or think of all those different questions, you can actually use AI to create all of this. And we've actually created an AI tool that aligns with all of these steps here. So this is actually Sales Scripter here, and Sales Scripter basically aligns with our sales message brainstorming process. You can certainly go through Sales Scripter and enter details of your benefits and pain points and create a sales message, sales pitch for your product or service. But we, in recent years, we've embraced AI, and now our product can basically take you through all 7 steps in a matter of seconds. All you have to do is insert the product or service you sell. You need to put the company or sell with, and you can enter additional information here, such as a product page or a product brochure. What you're basically doing with all of these fields is you're adding information into the prompt that's sent over to AI. So the AI can go look at your web product page. So if your product page has a lot of specifics about this is what we do, features and all that, the AI can take that into consideration. Or if you have like a product data sheet, there's also an additional details field here. You can put as much as you want in this. You're just giving instructions to the AI. But the very key step here of target audience. So let's say we sell B2C and we sell to retirees. So now when we use the AI is going to factor in and create our sales message thinking about, okay, well, when we sell financial advisory services to retirees, what are the pain points? What are the improvements? And so if I click start here, basically the software is going to go through all of those steps. You could certainly do this with AI on your own, but we've created all of the prompts, and there's a prompt for each step, and each prompt brings in points that were created on a previous prompt. So we're doing a lot of work here that would be difficult or time consuming to do just in a chat, working with AI directly. But you can see here it's creating a set of features, differentiation, improvements, pain points, pain questions and current state questions. So it went through our process. Now your software is loaded up with your sales message. So I just want to show you that tool. If you're worried about the effort or time, that there's an easy way to create all of that. And we can move on now to show you how basically to incorporate all of these talking points into your sales pitch, when to use which points, and how. And I can make that incredibly clear and easy, because each of these steps and sets of bullet points and talking points, each of these sets is what we refer to as building blocks. And you can then easily mix and match your building blocks to create a cold call script, an appointment script, objection responses, email messages, voicemail messages, sales presentation outline, and a lot more. And with that, what I can very easily do, I can just show you real quickly where those blocks that we created here today, such as pain points, pain questions, and current state questions, where you can insert those and go to where you can bounce to those when you're interacting with sales prospects. Let me start by just showing you where to talk about pain points. So we're going to get good at getting the prospect to talk about their pain, but at certain points, we want to just proactively talk about the pain we help to solve, and I'm going to show you where to do that. First of all, you could use certainly a pain points cold call opener. So this is opening the call with your pain points. So after you sort of introduce yourself, you can say something like, hey, well, the reason for the call is that we work with a lot of businesses, and they often have challenges with getting reps to say the right things, and reps are often not generating enough leads, and there's usually too many underperforming reps on the team. I don't know if you're concerned about those areas or not, and that's why I was calling with a question or two. We can also use your pain points for a cold email message. I'm not going to read through this message here, but basically we're using a pain point as a subject line. Then, businesses we work with often have these pain points. I don't know if you're concerned about those areas. Let's schedule a call. So whether or not this is a email that's perfect or an email that you love, what it can certainly be for you is a base to build on. So this email right here does not talk about the product at all. It doesn't even mention the smart sales system. This is still using my sales pitch. And I'm okay with that, but maybe you want to add some details about your product in here. But this is one you could build on, but certainly it's an example of how to use your pain points in a cold email message. We could use our pain points in a voicemail message. So instead of just saying, hey, I'm with this company, give me a call back when you get a chance, or we sell this, give me a call back when you get a chance. You could say, hey, the reason for the call is we work with a lot of businesses. They always have challenges with this and this and this. I don't know if you're concerned about that, but that's why I'm reaching out to you. I'll try you again next week. We could use your pain points as an introduction. So this could be maybe when you're networking, if you're at a wedding and you're at a business event, you're standing up in front of a room giving a presentation. What most salespeople do for their introduction is they basically say what they sell. So if you're at a networking event, you say, well, what do you do? A salesperson might say, oh, I sell office supplies. Well, not only is that a bit boring and not real create an opportunity for engagement or an engaging conversation, it might also trigger guardedness from the salesperson, like, oh, is this person going to try to sell me office supplies? But you can really greatly improve that scenario by, instead of saying what you sell, share your pain points. So someone says to me, what do you do? Well, what I do is I work with businesses and I help them to solve the challenges of getting reps to say the right things and communicate better. And I help them to get more leads out of their reps and decrease the time it takes to train their reps and get their reps performing. And then just stop talking. And then the person might say, well, how do you do that? And that's, if they do that, that's great. Then you're creating an engaging conversation. If they're looking at you a bit puzzled, curious to know how you do that, then you could pivot to talk more about what you sell. We could also use your pain points as an objection response. So the prospect says, oh, we're not doing anything right now. Okay, well, hey, listen, a lot of businesses that we work with, they often have issues with this, this, and this. Are you concerned about any of those, or you those are just areas you have everything covered? So instead of just accepting their objection, this gives you something to say. Here's a neat one: is we can actually use your pain points as a sales affirmation. So a lot of people think sales affirmations are either silly or they don't work, or they don't use them correctly. But I think if anybody uses an affirmation, I think they're probably not using it correctly, because they might look in the mirror and say something like, "Oh, I'm good enough. I'm a winner. I'm a fighter. I can do this," right? Which those are all great thoughts, but they're not real tangible, right? And if it's not tangible or believable, then you're just wasting your time, because you're not going to improve your mindset if it's not real, right? So, what you can do is you can use your pain points as an affirmation to improve your confidence that people need what you sell. Using my own pain points, I have doubt all the time. I deal with a lot of prospects who are very negative on sales scripts, and I can have doubt as to whether or not people want what I sell, or need what I sell, or going to buy what I sell. And so when you have doubt, you can look at your pain points, and you can stop to realize, you know what, I need to pick up the phone, because they might not be looking to buy what I sell, but just about every sales organization has reps that are not saying the right stuff. And maybe because they're new, or maybe they haven't been trained right, but we can improve that. Or there's definitely sales reps out there who are not generating enough leads. And it takes so much time and effort to get reps ramped up. Imagine hiring a new person. They don't have any existing knowledge. We have to do a knowledge transfer of all this industry and product information, and we have to get them to know all this stuff before they even perform. Well, I can solve that. So, because of all these pain points, I can call prospects with confidence. I still might face objections, but there are people out there that need what I sell. I just need to find them. The really nice thing about using this as an affirmation is that these are things I need to be talking about. So if I'm about to make calls and I use this as a booster to my confidence and mindset, I'm also reminding myself of the things I need to be talking about when or if someone answers the phone or gets in front of me. So that's how to use your pain points. Now let me show you how to incorporate your questions into the different scenarios that you will find yourself in. So the really nice thing here is, if you look at the cold call script, the centerpiece of the cold call script is asking good questions. And that is your pain questions and your current state questions, which, by the way, this is totally different from what most salespeople do. I have a playlist on our YouTube channel of cold calls that I've received. Almost all of those cold calls, the salespeople barely ask me any questions about what I'm doing today. With this cold call script or outline, before we even talk about what we do, we're going to ask questions, pain questions, current state questions. And the way what that could look like is, after your value proposition, hey, but if I could ask you real quick, how are your reps doing with, communicating, knowing the pitch, asking the right questions? That's an example of a pain question. Depending how the pain questions go, you could either mix in or transition to asking current state questions. Oh, hey, well, that sounds good. Are you guys using a structured methodology? Here's an appointment script. It's actually an appointment outline. I mean, we're not going to read from a script really at any point, but this is more of an outline than a script. The appointment opens up with learning about the prospect. I typically like to open appointments with current state questions. So even if we have some good pain questions to ask, let's open the appointment with learning about what they're doing today, and then we can weave in pain questions. This is actually the opposite of cold calls. Typically with cold calls, I like to start out cold calls with pain questions. Although, if you're cold calling about something that's commoditized, meaning it's a commonly sold, commonly purchased product, the product you sell, the prospect probably already has. In those scenarios, it's good to ask current state questions. Like if you sell insurance, start out with current state questions. Hey, do you currently have coverage for this? Who are you guys with? What does your coverage look like? Then you weave in or transition to pain questions. But if you sell something that's unique, start out with your pain questions at the beginning of the cold calls. We can also use your pain questions and current state questions as objection responses. I have a training module on objection handling, and we go through a lot of different objections. The majority of objections we can actually respond to by deflecting to our questions. So if you get any of these objections, I consider these to be kind of not interested objections, but I'm not interested. We already use someone, not making any changes, don't have any budget, don't have any time for this. You could deflect all of those objections to your pain questions by saying something like, oh, yeah, no problem. I understand. But before I let you go, if I could ask you real quick, do you feel like you're getting the most production and leads out of your reps, or you think there's room for improvement there? You can respond to all of these objections and a lot others also with your current state question. So let's say we run up against the objection of, we already used someone today. Oh, great. Hey, I understand. Listen, if I could ask you real quick, who are you guys currently with? How long have you been with them? How's everything going? Anything that they could be doing better? As you can see, by creating those talking points and questions, there are a lot of different places we can insert those, and a lot of different ways and times we can bounce to those different blocks. That's actually how our software of Sales Scripter works. With basically, the software can help you to create all of your blocks. This is using AI to create our blocks, but you could create these blocks, talking points on your own. But when you have your sales message and building blocks inside of Sales Scripter, the software basically has an area called the sales playbook. And what this basically does is it mixes and matches all of those blocks to create all of those different documents I just showed you. So it gives you email templates, sales scripts, but certainly, like, here's a cold call script. I'll actually do the one I showed you. So here's a pain intro cold call script. So here's the pain intro. And so here's the cold call script. We can view that in two different formats. There's a document view, which basically is your traditional document that you can scroll from top to bottom. But this is basically your cold call script. And we allow you to access that script in another format, which we call our interactive script. This is actually what most of our customers like. This is that exact same script, but instead of scrolling from top to bottom, here is our script over here on the left side. So these are all our building blocks or the different categories of talking points or questions. And you can bounce around those and bounce from one to another depending on how the prospect responds, and remind yourself of the different questions you want to ask. And the really nice thing about this view is over here on the right side, we can display all of our different objections and frequently asked questions. And for each of those, we can have multiple responses depending on the situation we're in or where we're at in the sales process. But, like I said, you can use AI to create your sales pitch and create your talking points, but where are you going to put all of those points? So what Sales Scripter provides you is a place to put your script, and a central place that you can either go to for yourself or a central place you can create for your sales team, and then make it easy to access all of those talking points, all of those questions when you're on the phone or interacting with prospects. Your homework for this week, if you're following along and working with us in our attempt to take you to the next level, your homework for this week is to brainstorm and think of 3 to 6 pain points for your product or service. And if you want to take a step forward from that, then create 3 to 6 pain questions, current state questions for your product or service. If you like what I just went through and you find that helpful and interesting, everything I showed you is actually part of the Smart Sales System. So this is actually a full system, and it includes software and whatnot. But one piece of the Smart Sales System is a sales training program. It aligns with a book I wrote called The Smart Sales System. But if you want to go through the full sales system, the good news is that it's actually on YouTube. So there's a playlist on our YouTube channel that aligns with the book, and there's a module for all of these different steps. But hopefully these 3 steps and these 3 tips take you to the next level and help you to improve your ability to find the prospect's pain, get the prospect talking about the pain that they're having. If you found this to be helpful in at least one way and you want to return the favor, very easy to do. All you have to do is like, comment, share this video, subscribe to our channel. Any of those help us, and none of those cost you anything. If you have questions or you want more information, the best place to go is salescripter.com. Thanks for being here. Hope this was helpful, and we look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a great day. Take care. Bye.